Hi, my name is Denali Cintron, and the mental disorder I am presenting on today is obsessive compulsive disorder. Throughout this presentation, I will be referring to it as OCD for short. Table of contents. I will first be talking about what OCD is in the introduction, and then I will be discussing Howie Mandel, a celebrity who was diagnosed with OCD and talks about it openly. Then I will go over the diagnosis, how Howie deals with OCD, and how you can deal with OCD, public knowledge, and some of the takeaways I learned from researching both what OCD is and from what I learned from Howie Mandel. The introduction. So, our class textbook defines OCD as a mental disorder marked by ongoing obsessions and compulsions lasting more than 1 hour per day. According to the same textbook and the DSM, these obsessions are troublesome or recurrent and persistent thoughts, impulses, or images. They become overly time consuming and distressing and destructive because they occur spontaneously, frequently, and intrusively, which means they are unwanted by the person and unfortunately uncontrollable. In most individuals, it caused marked anxiety or distress. Obsessions can be quite strong. For example, someone with OCD might have images or thoughts in their mind of massive bacteria on doorknobs. This is known as contamination obsession, which is common, and other common obsessions include doubt, need for disorder, or impulses toward aggression. Individuals will attempt to ignore or suppress the unwanted thoughts, so in response, compulsions are performed. Compulsions are ritualistic acts done repeatedly to reduce anxiety from the obsessions. These acts can be motor behaviors or mental acts. For example, someone who has contamination obsessions may excessively wash their hands. This may happen so often in a day that it interferes with daily living. Other types of compulsions are checking, ordering, counting, silently repeating words or phrases. Compulsions take place at least 1 hour per day, but often last much longer. OCD is a mental disorder because the obsessions and compulsions occur nearly every day, are extremely distressing, and interfere with a person's ability to concentrate or work. So, as I mentioned before, Howie Mandel is a celebrity who is diagnosed with OCD and is very open about it. For those who don't know who he is, he's a professional stand up comedian as well as a screenwriter, actor, producer, director, entrepreneur, and game show host. Not only does he suffer from OCD, but he suffers from misophobia also, which is the fear of germs. He has worked hard to have a successful life and has accomplished a lot through his career. Some of his most well known works include his role as Dr. Wayne Fiskus in the Emmy Award winning series Elsewhere, hosting Deal or No Deal, being a judge on America's Got Talent, and creating the cartoon series Bobby's World. None of this would have happened if a producer hadn't spotted him on his trip to LA in 1979. Howie was discovered while performing at the popular Sunset Strip Club. It was amateur night, and a producer from the comedy game show Make Me Laugh saw his act and booked Howie to make some appearances during its 1979 to 1980 series. From there, he booked more jobs and roles, and the rest is history. One of his biggest achievements was in April 2004 when he was selected as number 2 on Comedy Central's list of the 100 greatest stand up comedians of all time. Diagnosis. The diagnosis criteria for OCD listed by the DSM is the presence of obsessions, compulsions, or both. The obsessions or compulsions, which I described and detailed in the introduction, are time consuming or cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. The symptoms it causes must not be attributable to physiological effects of a substance or another medical condition, and the disturbance must not better be explained by the symptoms of another mental disorder. For example, the disturbance of excessive worries could also be better explained as generalized anxiety disorder. Some symptoms of OCD include, but are not limited to, difficulty concentrating or making decisions, avoidance of social situations, and feeling overwhelmed or distressed. Because its symptoms involve distressing thoughts and behaviors, OCD is considered an anxiety disorder. Dealing with OCD. Howie lived with OCD for more than 4 decades before he got diagnosed. It wasn't until he received an ultimatum from his wife when he decided it was finally time to get help. Before he received treatment, Howie had his family do cleanliness tasks such as washing their hands repeatedly, put on gloves, avoid touching their phones, and disinfect everything in the house. This shows not only did OCD interfere with Howie's daily living, but it interfered with his family's daily life as well. His other symptoms include practicing rituals that he needed to execute, such as sitting in a certain way. He wanted other people to sit in certain ways too, like without their legs crossed, and he felt he couldn't move on in his life unless they did so. He needed things to be made his way. His symptoms were noticeable even before his adult life. Howie described his childhood a healthline. I wouldn't learn to tie my shoes because I didn't want to touch the laces, because they had touched the ground. So everybody bullied me, and I didn't have a friend in school because I just would rather them think I can't tie my laces. Even having received treatment, still has an impact in Howie's daily living. He told NOCD, even to this day, I don't think a day goes by when I don't have a moment of suffering or discomfort. Initially, Howie felt embarrassed and ashamed. He thought of it as a sign of weakness, but his thoughts changed after receiving treatment. Howie received treatment through ERP therapy. This type of therapy promotes exposing oneself to thoughts, images, objects, and situations that make them anxious, and then learning to avoid engaging in compulsive behavior related to those. With ERP, over time, Howie taught himself the thoughts aren't dangerous or meaningful, and he can live life in his own terms, rather than being ruled by OCD's rules and fears. ERP is the gold standard in OCD treatment because it has decades of research backing it up. Individuals learn to live with and accept troubling, intrusive thoughts and the uncomfortable feelings they may bring. Thanks to this treatment, Howie was able to find the help he needed, and he makes it public so others know that with the right treatment, they can get help too. Public knowledge. When he was first diagnosed with OCD, Howie wasn't ready to talk about it publicly. Now he is determined to use his platform to help shatter the stigma. In an interview with the Today Show, he stated, "They say that misery loves company. I don't know that I'm thrilled that one out of 40 people have OCD, but it makes my mission even more prevalent. I know how painful it is. I don't want people to go through what I go through, and a lot of people go through worse." That's why he teamed up with NOCD to raise awareness about what OCD is, the stigma about it, and how you can manage it with specialized treatment. NOCD is an organization that offers affordable and accessible online therapy along with resources and treatment options for OCD. Furthermore, Howie has written and published an in-depth OCD, ADHD themed autobiography called Here's the Deal, Don't Touch Me. So maybe go check it out. My takeaways after researching OCD and learning about Howie Mandel's life are having OCD goes beyond being a perfectionist and causes a lot more problems than people see. It is distressing, overly time consuming, troublesome, and interferes with daily life. It involves the presence of both compulsions and obsessions. They may take place at least 1 hour per day, but often last much longer. Obsessions are troublesome thoughts, impulses, or images, whereas compulsions are physical or mental acts performed in response to an obsession to lessen distress. They are often associated with painful thoughts. Medication isn't the only tool to help with OCD. ERP therapy can help too. I could not imagine having to live with OCD, and if I did have it, I definitely would have been embarrassed like Howie was. I also think I would have been frustrated that I would want to perform certain rituals over and over again. To handle this disorder, I would take medications to manage my symptoms and do ERP therapy to help gain control of my fears and avoid compulsive behaviors. I would not want OCD to hold me back and interfere with my daily living. Here are some of the resources I used to find out exactly what OCD is and about Howie's life and how he handles living with it. So thank you for your undivided attention, and I would like to make some acknowledgments. Thank you to Professor Noya for sharing her knowledge and providing her guidance and feedback, and also a huge thank you to the University of Miami Department of Psychology for its teachings and research.